The history of vampires is rich in both ancient mythology. Despite being one of the oldest and most prevalent creatures of world mythology, the origin of vampires has remained unknown for thousands of years. It wasn't until more recently that we were given a glimpse into the early vampire history. Only a vampire can create another vampire, so our logic tells us that the history of vampires begins with a single vampire who created the others. Much like the chicken and the egg argument, we had little insight into how the first vampire came about until recently. Logically, if there was no vampire to make the first vampire, how was the first vampire made? According to legend, it all began in the Mediterranean. The first vampire started out as not a vampire at all, but as a human man named Ambrogio. He was an Italian-born adventurer who fate brought to Delphi, in Greece. You can read the full story here, but in a nutshell, a series of blessings and curses transformed this young man into history's first vampire. Specifically, it began with the sun god Apollo, who in a fit of rage cursed Ambrogio so that his skin would burn should it ever touch sunlight again. Ambrogio's bad luck followed when he ended up gambling away his soul to Hades, the god of the underworld. The next curse came via Apollo's sister Artemis, the goddess of the moon and hunting, who made it so that Ambrogio's skin would burn if he touched silver. The blessings came soon after when Artemis, taking pity on the poor young man, gave him the gift of immortality. He would carry his curses, his skin burning by sunlight or silver, but he would live forever in his current form. Not only that, but Artemis also gave him the speed and strength to become a hunter whose skills were second only to her own. Blood-sucking is also included in this blessing. In the vampire origin story, Ambrogio hunts swans and uses the blood as ink to write love poems to his lady Selene. Ambrogio later moved back to Italy, now as a full-fledged vampire. Legend traces him to the city of Florence, where he creates the first vampire clan. We don't know a whole lot about this clan, other than they were most likely willing volunteers, humans who wanted power and immortality, and were willing to trade their souls for it. It was believed that the curse would continue for any vampire, where their souls would remain in the underworld, where they could return to claim them, but then could never leave. From what we know of the history of vampires, the clan grew in size and strength, until infighting created something of a civil war within the clan, and many vampires left to form their own clans. What happened to Ambrogio and those who stayed with him is largely unknown, though many believe that he still resides somewhere in Florence.
Okay, so here are some insurance policies you may need to revise. And right here is the deed, and right down here is the proof of your residence.
Okay, alright.
Any questions?
Is there a blood bank nearby?
According to some sources, to become a vampire, you must practice sorcery.
Man, Zach, what did I tell you about practicing sorcery?
It's just a phase, Dad!
Guess who's your daddy?
Another way to become a vampire, you must kill yourself. The final way to become a vampire is to kill yourself before baptism.
Hey, Zach, are you ready to get baptized?
I think I'm gonna kill myself.
You're gonna kill yourself.
I think I'm gonna kill myself.
What?
Ah!
Young sir, must you go?
Why, yes, the Countess invited me. Why?
It is the eve of St. George's Day. Do you know what that means?
No.
When the clock strikes midnight tonight, all hell will break loose.
Really?
Take this, for your mother's sake.
Okay. All right, good.